There are extremely talented people out there. People who start sim racing and gain several thousand iRating in just a couple of months. They win races like it's nothing and control their car better than I control my thoughts. And then there is people like me, the average driver. And for drivers like us, finishing on the podium or even winning a race can feel almost impossible. But it's not. And in this video I'm going to show you my personal strategy to consistently finish on the podium as an average driver. And I'm also going to prove that it actually works. But before we get into that, a lot of you guys were very sad that Max hasn't been in my recent videos. First of all, I'm sorry, but you have to understand he's very busy right now. I mean, nobody's changing tires more than this guy, so mad respect to him. But here is the good news. He actually sent me a letter. So I thought we might as well open it together. Simon, I saw your videos. They suck ass. Stop pretending like you know me or I will sue the shit out of you. You will never visit me on my yacht. By the way, your hair transplant looks like shit. Max. Alright, let's focus on the video. This strategy is actually very simple and anyone can do it. But not everyone will want to, because it changes the entire sim racing experience. And it all starts with the approach to sim racing. Now, don't get me wrong, looking at sim racing as just a fun game is completely fine. But for me, that led to one thing: bad results, which made the fun game not so fun anymore. And I don't know about you, but I didn't spend so much money on this entire setup to finish in the back or in the wall. So something had to change, and I stopped treating it like a game and started treating it like a sport. Because in sports you don't just show up and hope for the best.
My name is Jeff.
You train, you prepare, you use advantages other people don't even think about. And that's exactly why I start preparing way earlier than most people do. And instead of just explaining all of this, I actually recorded the entire process.
Ich weiß nicht.
Ja, ich hab dich auch gar nichts gefragt. Wirklich. Manchmal nervt's. So let me show you exactly what I do. So the first thing I do is I choose my next race. And that does not mean just jump into whatever race is about to start. I choose 3 things: the series, the car and the track. So first, the series. And this is important for one reason. I want as many splits as possible. Because more splits means I race against people at my level. Because no matter how good you prepare, a 1.5k rated driver is not beating a 6k rated driver. I mean, we could just take him out, but we'll save that for another video.
Hell yes.
This is what makes this strategy work for everyone. No matter your rating, you'll be in a grid that matches your level. And one more thing, I go for fixed series. Because setups can give you an advantage, but they can also destroy your race if you don't know what you are doing. Like me. With the series in mind, I now choose the car. And this is pretty simple. I choose something I'm comfortable with. And for me that's the Porsche Cup car. If you want to learn a new car, that's completely fine, but then you will just need more practice. And now, the track. And I'll be honest, this feels a bit like cheating. Picking tracks you like and avoiding the ones you don't can feel like you're faking it. But that's not the point. The goal right now is not to prove you are the fastest driver. The goal is to drive a good race. So it's completely fine to choose a track you like and skip the ones you don't. So what we do is simple. We go into the series schedule and look at the next few weeks. In my case, this was perfect because the track for next week was Imola. And I've never driven this track before. I didn't even own it, which makes this even better because now we can prove that this strategy actually works. I mean, we will see about that. So now that I chose my next race, I had about 1 week till race week, which even if you've got a life outside of sim racing is enough time to prepare properly. And for me it usually takes about 5 sessions, around 30 minutes each, to get somewhat competitive on a new track. And every additional test session is there to become more consistent. And I like to keep these training sessions short, because for me 2 short quality sessions lead to better results than 1 long session. So I jumped into session 1.
Give us a few clean laps to get our fuel numbers.
And this is where lap times usually are way off. But we don't care about that at this point. No need to focus on details yet. The goal of session 1 is simple. Just get familiar with the track and learn the layout. These were my lap times in session 1. The next day, session 2. Now that we know the track, we start to experiment with the braking points, trying different lines, see where the track limits are, and slowly start to get those lap times down. At session 3, the biggest problems are usually solved. We pretty much have the racing line and breakpoints dialed in, and this is where it gets really hard to improve. This is the maximum I can get out of it on my own so far, so now it's time to compare. We check previous race results and see what kind of lap times people in our splits were driving. And as you can see, I'm still far from competitive. And this is where track guides come in. Now technically I could have watched one before even starting practice, and yes, I would have been faster immediately, but that's not the point, because figuring things out yourself first is what actually makes you a better driver. And once you hit that limit, that's when track guides become really powerful. Because we're not just trying to copy their driving, we are looking for obvious differences. And sometimes it's just a small change that gives you a few tenths in a single corner. And that aha moment only works because we tried figuring things out at ourselves. And that aha moment only worked because we tried figuring things out ourselves first. After comparing the lap times, I figured I needed consistent 42s to be competitive. And without the track guide, I was just way off. So I checked the track guide and yeah, there was some differences. And after adjusting a few things, my lap times went from this...
What the hell is even that?
...to this.
Yay!
So from that point on, every practice session was no longer about getting faster, it was about getting consistent. Because this track is actually pretty fun, but it also had some rough sections that made consistency really difficult for me. So in total, I did 8 test sessions until I finally felt ready. And then it was time to jump in a race and prove that this strategy actually works. Let me explain what happened. Qualifying actually went pretty well. I qualified P4, had a great start until turn 2, where somebody shoves me right back to P22. But looking at the lap times, I knew the pace was there. And that's when things started to happen. Lap 2, P21. Lap 3, P19. Lap 4, P17. Lap 5, P14. And then my phone starts ringing. I ignore it, because I'm a race car driver. It rings again. Is that Max? No, it's my wife. She can wait 15 minutes, cause I'm a race car driver. Next lap, next overtake, phone rings again, and that's it. 17th incident point, drive-through penalty, and the race was over. So I called back my wife, kind of annoyed. Turns out I'm not just a race car driver, I'm also a father, and I had to pick up my daughter because she felt sick. And that's also why I don't have a replay, which honestly sucks because it was really a good race up until this point. But to be fair, I was pushing hard, so a lot of these incident points were on me. But incidents happen, and this race wasn't a clean example of this strategy. The important part is, the pace was there and I felt comfortable. So 2 hours later, I jumped straight into the next race. And all I needed was the same race again. Just avoid the lap 1 chaos, and it's raining. Now, rain races are basically a completely different game. At that point, I had only done 2 rain races ever. One went pretty well, the other one not so much. So yeah, I was a bit nervous, but I also knew one thing. Most people cannot drive in the rain. A lot of them spin, over push, or just completely lose control. So I followed one simple rule. Don't be fast, just don't crash. I call it Grandma's wet driving style. And yeah, it doesn't feel like racing at all, but if you can just keep your car on track, you are already better than most of the grid. So that's exactly how I approached qualifying, and that was good enough for P7, which turned into P5 because 2 cars started from the pits. And now, let's jump into the race. So right after the start, the guy next to us has to get off the throttle to avoid contact so we can easily gain our first position. But car 23 is a bit aggressive and comes right back in front of us, and I just barely avoid him. There is even slight contact, but all good. And since he seemed a little aggressive, I didn't try anything stupid and just let him go for now. In the meantime, the first car already crashes itself out even before the first turn. Another 2 cars are really curious to try out the Imola Rallycross layout, and these 2 who started from the pits also never heard of Grandma Sweat driving style. All of this is happening while we're slowly trying to fill out the track, as in turn 10 the car in front of us has a slight moment, pushing a bit too hard. Nothing too crazy, but we take that as information for any possible future fights. But for now, I have to keep an eye on the back, cause car number 10, Felipe Santiago, what a fucking cool name, is starting to put a bit of pressure on me while I'm still trying to figure out what line to take. And going into turn 1, I missed a corner a bit, which puts Felipe right up my ass, but that wasn't really a problem for me, because first of all, even though it looks like he has better pace, I actually felt quicker. I was still driving really cautious at this point, and second, he was driving really clean and controlled, so I wasn't afraid of any strange dives or something. So I'm just trying to hold my line and, if needed, defend a bit by taking the inside line. This went on for almost the whole second lap until the chicane, where he again has a better run, but there is just nothing he can do from there, and then he has a bit of oversteer, and that's when I can finally get rid of him. Or so I thought, because going into lap 3 I see 2 cars coming out of the pits, and I just hope they don't slow me down so I can keep the gap to Felipe, and maybe, if we are lucky, they slow him down instead. That's when the first car is slowing down to let us pass, but of course Felipe also makes it through, so there goes our first chance. But now I have the draft from the car in front, so I'm hoping he stays in front of me until the main straight, so I can maybe increase the gap there. But of course this guy doesn't want to be involved in this shit, so now I had to rely on my own pace instead of luck, which actually worked out, because from that point on the gap to Felipe just kept increasing every lap. But a few laps later, Felipe gets company from this guy, Tony Perich, who started only from P9 but slowly made his way forward. He was consistently faster than me, and going into lap 9 he also had a big slipstream, so it didn't make sense to start defending and risk something stupid at this point. But Tony is a nice guy and doesn't take a position without giving one back, so going into lap 10 he puts pressure on car 23, the aggressive guy from lap 1, who doesn't even realize there is a bend in the track. He manages to keep the car straight, but he lost so much speed, and that's how we get back to P4. I tried to stay in Tony's draft as much as I can, but he's just too quick over the next few laps, so at this point I'm starting to accept that there are probably not many positions left to gain, and with about a 4-second gap to the car behind I could just bring it home safely. But you know, it's a red race and you never know if someone in front spins, so I kept the pace up. Which brings us to lap 14, the penultimate lap, where Tony, about 5 seconds ahead, almost gives us the podium position, but in front of him, Max Eppelmann decides he wants to give the podium to Tony instead, so he lets Tony through and comes back right in front of us. I'm quick enough to drive past him though, and there it is. P3 with only 1 lap to go. And with Max glued to my rear bumper, this means now it's time to fight. Max has the pace and the draft on the straight, so I go defensive into turn 1, where I am pretty confident he will not try anything stupid there. So I brake a bit early to avoid any mistakes, and he really goes for it. And I don't know how the fuck he did that, because most people couldn't even do that on a dry track. This guy pulls off a perfect overtake on the outside in these conditions. Must be the name, I don't know. I just knew I had to give him props after the race for this overtake. Slight netcode contact, but all good, so now we're back to P4 on the last lap. Very close to the podium, but you know, shit happened. Oh, never mind. Tony changed his mind and actually gifted us the podium after all. And just like that, we are back in P3, and that's where we finished the race.
Max, that was a fucking nice dive.
Just like I told you, no magic, no crazy talent, just strategy and a podium finish. This one race alone is probably not enough to fully convince you. Yes, there was some luck involved, car spinning, mistakes in front, but that's racing. They spun, I didn't. And this isn't just about one race. Out of my last 6 races, I won 2, had a P3, a P4, a solid P12, and only 1 bad race, the race before this one. Again, I'm not a perfect driver, not even close, but this strategy is what makes my results consistently better. And yeah, this approach means I don't race all the time. I prepare more and race less, because I just need that to keep up with all the faster drivers out there. Some people don't like this approach because it's too serious, but for me this is fun. Finishing races well is what I enjoy. If that's not your style, that's completely fine. There is no right way to do this. This is just what works for me. If you want to try it, but it just sounds a bit over the top for you, maybe don't go all in right away. Just take parts of it and see what happens. If you got some value out of this video, I'd really appreciate it if you stick around. We are getting close to 5k subscribers, which means there's a giveaway coming soon. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.